Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya if you're new, and today we're going to be coloring with the Simptap acrylic markers from Arrtx. And they sent me this 48 set, and you could see here it says saturated colors. Now, it's a beautiful box, obviously. Arrtx always does a beautiful job with their packaging, and the colors are really beautiful. When I first found out about these, I was wondering how they were different from these two sets. So this set is the original one that I was familiar with. Actually, I have a different Arrtx one, but this is the first one that they sent me, I believe. And there's two sets. There's many, many colors. And this has the biggest range, but I believe it's the least opaque. Then you have this one, which comes in a beautiful green box. And let me get the box, hang on. So this is the cover of this one. And I found this one had a smaller range of colors so far, but it was more opaque than these. So, and you definitely notice that. Stronger coverage, it says. So I was wondering how these would be different than sorry if you hear my kids. So I was wondering how they were different from this, and I can tell by not only the way that the ink the paint, it feels like paint coming out. The way that it's set up is that there's a cap here. You have to pump this, and then the paint literally comes out from around here onto the nib. And so I realized just from working with them that the reason that they did this is because the paint here is more opaque. So out of these three, these are the most opaque that I noticed. And I actually tried doing some backgrounds. I'll show you soon. And I noticed that you don't need to do 2 layers of this like you do with the others. So this is very opaque. This feels like almost like you took a craft paint and a paintbrush, or an acrylic paint and a paintbrush, and you covered that area. So that is what I noticed is different about these markers than this. They are the most opaque, and it's the closest to acrylic, but with a brush nib. So there are other acrylic paint pens that might have quite opaque color, like some other ones that I've tried. However, these have a brush nib. That is what's different from the ones that you would pump like this, like you could push them with a bullet nib directly. You don't want to push this because you don't want to ruin the nib. Excuse my kids if you hear them. So here you're pumping here instead of pumping it like this because you don't want to ruin the brush nib. So that is what I have gathered to be different from these than the other markers. So I'm going to show you a couple of clips of me working with these, and let's get into it. So first thing, before I color with them, obviously I need to swatch them. I need to play with them, get to know them. So first thing is swatching for sure. So as you can see, I'm shaking them. And with the cap closed, they said to shake them with the cap closed. I already made that mistake and had paint splatter everywhere. So don't do that. Pumping it a couple of times, shaking, and then seeing it go through the nib until it kind of comes out. So it does take a little bit of work to prime them, but I can already see from the swatches that if you shake them well, prime them well, you're getting a really good opacity on these colors. And I actually love the colors in the range. There's a lot of muted earth tones, which I love. I don't like just primary. So these are the swatches right here, and beautiful colors. Some of them I didn't pump well enough, so it's a bit of a learning curve. And shake them. You need to shake them really, really well to get the full opacity. But there's some really great colors in here. So I'm going to try a couple of other things. So the first 2 clips are from this book by Chris Garver, Color Odyssey. So I'm going to speed you up for this part. And basically, This is my first page of playing with these markers other than the swatching. So this is like my first get to know these markers type of page. And I decided to pick a fun page in this book and start on the background. There's these triangles, so I thought, you know what, let me use the markers and do a couple of different triangles here. I didn't do the entire background with these markers, but this was just me playing with them, getting to know them, and that way I could form some thoughts eventually and tell you what I think about them. So this is me just taking you along as I get to know the markers, and I'm just doing straight coloring right here. So this is how the page came out. I did end up using some water-based markers in here as well, but I love how the acrylic looks so beautiful and opaque. So the next page that I decided to work in is in this book again by Chris Garver. And I decided to do a background in a crazy color that I don't usually do. So I don't often use red as a background, but I thought, you know what, let me do it in here. It looks really fun and inviting, this page. So I just went for it, and I am loving how opaque it is looking. And it's also very fun, very meditating to just color a background. So I finished off the page, the entire background, and I hope you can appreciate how opaque that looks. You can barely see any streak marks. And with all my other acrylic brush markers that have that brush nib, they are not as opaque as this. So that's just one coat, you guys. It really looks like I painted it with the brush and the craft paint. And but what's unique about this is that it has the brush nib, which there are paint markers that will get you this opaque look, but they don't have that brush nib. They have like more of like a bullet nib. So that is what I noticed unique about these markers. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is actually a technique that I like to use, and maybe you will like it too. Maybe you want to try it. And it's for areas, let me show you. It's for areas where there's a lot of busy stuff going on. And I'll show you an example of. So right here, there's a lot of like dots and stuff going on in their backgrounds. So what I like to do is color the entire thing with a watercolor. So here I did an entire watercolor wash of green on everything, except for maybe the big circles and the bird and the branch. But all the little things I covered completely with a wash of green and yellow watercolor. And then you can go on top and color the details on top with acrylic. So that would be good for like something like, hold on, I'll show you right here. This is Nature Odyssey. And I'll show you later another example where I did it. But like, for example, this page, which I really, really love, I would probably do watercolor on the entire background here. And then I would go in and add either the lines or color these in with acrylic or something else. But acrylic works great on top of watercolor. So I'm just showing you like an example of where I would use it. But I'm going to show you the example in this book. This is Jugan, I think it's pronounced, by Holly Sanders. It's a First Nations coloring book from Australia, I believe. And so we're just going to do this area. See how there's a lot of little things going on? So I'm going to do a watercolor wash and then to color everything. And it's going to be super easy. And then I can go on top with acrylic paint pens that are opaque and add in the details. I mean, I could use other things too, like gel pens or metallic elements, but I'm going to show you how these can go on top of watercolor, and it could really help you with these busy areas. So I pulled out my Rosa watercolors, and I am just going to do like a grass green type of background here. Just going to lighten it up a little. We'll do a wash over the entire thing. And I love color. Green is my favorite color, so whenever there's something green, I will color it green because it's my favorite color. Any kind of green I love. So I'm just gonna cover that up like this, and we'll let it dry. And now what's nice with the watercolor washes is that I could actually, the better thing to do is actually add a couple of different colors. So I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow, and then I'll take the olivey green a little bit and mix it in there. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then we will go on top with the acrylic markers. So now that it's dry, we can go on top like this with the acrylic marker. So that is a little technique that you can use to speed up like Zen doodly areas. So just speeding you up again, and all I'm doing is covering little doodles on top of the watercolor. And at first it might look a little sparse, but once you start adding a bunch of colors on top, it really looks wonderful. So like I showed you in the other page. Then since I had it out already, I took out my page in Hannah Carlson's Daydreams, excuse me, in Hannah Carlson's Daydreams book, and I decided to do pretty much the same thing because this is mostly based with watercolors, this page. So I'm going on top of the watercolors with the acrylic markers and just adding little bits of those little foliage, leaves, flowers, whatever they are, little botanical elements. And it's so easy because, like I said, these are opaque. So you just go on top of whatever you did underneath, and it goes pretty quickly. So I'm just using it in a way that I use my other acrylic brush pen markers, basically. And I'm just kind of seeing how it goes. Basically, this is me trying these markers in multiple different pages in multiple different ways so that I can form a final opinion about them, tell you what I think, and tell you how I will probably be using them. So I wanted to show you two more places where I used the markers, and I wanted to mention that when I get these products, I always tell them I need at least a month to make the video because I want to use them in multiple ways in different books and kind of get to know them before I do the video. So these clips were filmed over several weeks. But anyway, so I did an experiment in here. Where is it? Right here where I did a background, and it is a little streaky, and I think the reason is because A, it's a light color, B, I didn't shake it enough. Like I think it's really important to shake it enough so that you disperse the, so that the ink gets mixed well. Otherwise you can create a little bit more streakiness than with the other colors that I noticed. So make sure you shake it well. But I still like this. I'm going to use this as a mixed media piece and go on top with oil pastel and maybe glitter. So that's what I'm going to do with that. But here I wanted to show you I had a very successful background. I didn't finish it yet, as you could see. I'm debating if I should do a different color on this side. It is a double page spread, so I might use the same color. But my idea was to do like a rainbow thread, like a ball of yarn that has multiple colors. I think that would be fun. And I thought that a acrylic background would suit very well because it would make it pop. So I picked like a dark purple, and look how beautiful it looks. I mean, there are a little bit of differences here, but honestly, this looks very opaque. This is one layer. I really think, in conclusion, my concluding thoughts is that I am going to be using these for backgrounds, because for small details, I don't think it's worth it to go through the trouble of pumping and this. I think if you're going to pump and go through all that, you really want to do a big background, like a large area. Because again, you are basically getting the opacity of a acrylic marker that you prime, that you pump and prime, but you're priming and pumping from the back end, not here, and that way you could have a brush tip. So that is what is unique. You're getting the opacity of a pumping acrylic marker, but with a brush nib. So for me, at least, I'm going to be using these for backgrounds, I realized. Even though I like them in other ways, and I'm glad I showed you other ways that I use acrylic markers, but I would say that for me, these are going to be for large backgrounds because they are so opaque and beautiful that you don't need to do another layer. They're not streaky. Like if you shake them well, and I'm sure it also depends on the color, but I am very impressed with several of the backgrounds that I did with these. So that is the end of my video. I wanted to say a big thank you to Arrtx for sending these. By the way, if Arrtx gives me a code, I believe they usually give me a coupon code. If they do, I will leave it below, and I will also leave the links to this below. And they actually also sent me a beautiful sketchbook. Let me get it. I forgot to show that. So they sent me this beautiful sketchbook. Let me go out. And if you like to do your own sketches, it's really beautiful. I love the color. And it's bound beautifully. You can actually take out the pages if you want, which is great. It's easy to take them out. And so I think I'll be printing some coloring pages on this paper because it's fantastic. So thank you so much again to Arrtx. I really love the markers. I am going to be using them for backgrounds in my coloring books. I think they're perfect for that. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Have a wonderful week and month of coloring, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.